I'm coming from a place or a life that doesn't really look like the life I'm living right now. I used to not take life seriously. I used to go out with people who fight on the streets.
Earlier this year, he stood in front of a classroom of 36 teenagers in his community in Nigeria, and he asked, is anyone familiar with ChatGPT?
Based on what I was teaching, they needed to use ChatGPT. So I asked if they knew what it was, and I was honestly surprised.
And not one hand went up.
I saw it as a problem. I knew that if the young people in my community don't know a major thing that is shaping the future, then I was afraid of the future of my community.
And that gap didn't sit right with him. And so what did he do?
So I came back and I really thought about it. I knew I should do something about it.
A lot of people in our generation, Gen Z, don't have that drive and motivation. It's almost like a stigma amongst our generation. And so I'm curious, where does that drive that you have come from?
I started to read about people who lived extraordinary lives. One of them is, I wanted to get closer to him because I was watching his videos, I was reading his books, and then I discovered he was dead. I was like, so you mean a person could live so well that even after they are gone, they are still living? And so I realized that the only way I can do that is.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Creators for Change podcast. This is where we talk to mission-driven creators and entrepreneurs who use their voice, their business, and their story to create real change. Today's guest is Rahmon Bethel. He runs his own video editing agency and does a lot of work with marketing and AI. And he actually shared a recent experience that really stuck with me. He built Youth Incubator, which is a 4-day event completely free with business owners lending out laptops, his entire church community behind him, all to close that knowledge gap that he saw. And so he's not just someone talking about AI from the outside. He's using it every day to run his business, but then he's also going and he's helping his community. And so that's exactly what this show is about, highlighting not just entrepreneurs who want to make money for them, but people who actually do something to make a difference. And so, Rahmon, we're really happy to have you here. So give us your version. What's your day-to-day like? And how did you get from where you were to doing Youth Incubator?
Okay, great. Thank you, Ari. Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, I think that you pretty much said most of the things. Yeah, what my day-to-day looks like, I run IJ Media. That's the video agency that I am currently building. And my day-to-day looks like either training my team, working with clients, going on calls, or doing video editing myself currently because of the stage of the business. And other times it looks like going out to teach young people, which is not, it's not like that happens every week, but it is also part of my life right now. And how did all of this end up at building or having an initiative like Youth Incubator? I think, like you rightly said, I had an experience early this year. Actually, the first one was last year, and last year was when I had started to think about doing something like this initially, but I didn't think towards AI or skill acquisition. I just knew that I should contribute something to my community, but I didn't know what exactly. So the following month, I got a call from someone who wanted me to teach video marketing and around my community. So I went there, and when I got there, we had done one day of the class, and I think it was the second or third day when I was there. Then I asked, based on what I was teaching, they needed to use ChatGPT. So I asked if they knew what it was, and I was honestly surprised that these young people, some even older than me, I'm 22 right now, some of them there were 25, 26, and I saw it as a problem. I don't know if every other person would see it as that, but I knew that if the young people in my community don't know what is going on right now, what is moving the world, like what's a major thing that is shaping the future, then I was afraid of the future of my community. So I came back and I really thought about it. I thought deeply about it, and I knew I should do something about it.
I love it. And I love how the work is coming from a true place of wanting to do good. I mean, just from the way you explained it, you're definitely someone who is proactive, you're productive, you see the end goal and you work to close the gap. That makes me curious because, I mean, you know this, if you talk to, is there any one place or is it just you're not really sure? Is there something in particular?
I would be very, very open and honest with all the answers that I give in this um, podcast. And I think that I would start with where I was coming from so that there can be context to this answer that I'm about to give. I am coming from I'm coming from a place or a life that doesn't really look like the life I'm living right now. I I used to not take life seriously. I used to be I used to sometimes go out with people who fight on the streets and actually sometimes fight alongside them. I used to engage myself in certain things that were not that of course in the world today we wouldn't consider good. And back then I realized when you ask me what was my driving force, I think back then my driving force was my environment, the people I was surrounded with, and I the kind of knowledge that I had back then. So that was what was driving me back then. Up until 2020, 2021, when I suddenly realized that there is a life better than the life I was living. And I was 16 or 16, 17 back then. And I knew that I couldn't continue like that. My dad, someone I still love him. I appreciate him for everything he has done. But I knew I didn't want his life. He was on the average doing well, but I knew I didn't want the things I was seeing in my environment anymore. I needed a change. And that was that was a turning point for me that particular year because I made a decision. I was born or I'm born to a father who is a Muslim, and I wanted to be a Christian. And that's 2021 was when I figured, okay, I could build a better life following Christ. And I usually would not share this faith. I wouldn't be loud about this as usual, but I have decided that I'll be very honest with this. So that year I had two choices. My dad told me that I either follow the belief that he has handed over to me or I leave his house. And I was very, very scared of him. He's someone that I was very, very scared of. And uh, I didn't want to fight him, not in a physical sense, not even in the emotional sense. I didn't want to fight him at all. I didn't want to have any issues with him. And he was very strict. But I sat down to think about it and I decided I wouldn't let go of my belief. I wouldn't let go of something that I have seen um, because of whatever threat I got. So that year was really the year that um, I left home because that was the consequence for my decision. So what was driving me back then was a search for a better life, search for something different from what I was living because I knew it existed, because I had seen it in a way in some people who said they were following Christ. And they were really the set of people that were different to me in my environment back then. I saw that these people were different and they kept pointing to Christ. So I figured I could just go deeper and let's discover what this is all about. And I did. And so right now, I would say that my driving force is not necessarily a story, in all sincerity. I think that my driving force is a spirit, and that spirit is Christ. Because right now, I have found that what I went for is actually true. It's been over 5 years now, and I do not for a day regret that I made that decision. Was it easy? Definitely not. It wasn't, but it has proven to be a very good decision. It has shaped my life. It has helped me become this person um, that I am today now. So my driving force is Christ.
Thank you for sharing that, especially the story of your upbringing so openly. I think that is more common than we think. People who go through an experience and they're kind of at that turning point, like you described, like they have a choice. It reminds me of a story that I read about, it was two twin boys had a father who it was really hard to get along with him. He was an alcoholic, and the one twin turned out exactly like his father. The other twin ended up being really successful. And they asked them both, what made you turn out the way that you did? And they both had the same answer. How could I not with the father that I had? And so one of them fell into this mentality of, oh, like, I'm stuck in this. This is my destiny. Whereas the other one was like, you know what? I need to become something different. And so I see it in you. You chose that decision of the second twin who chose to take his own path. And you're right, it's scary, it's not easy, but the way I see it, I know you believe in Christ. For our viewers listening, whatever you believe in, whether it's Christ, universe, the divine, Allah, whatever it is, the way I see it, it's almost like life happens for you. And if you see it as like, oh, life is happening to me, you become that
Yeah,
victim. But if you
yeah,
flip it, you become what you are, a creator for change,
yeah.
creator for change in your own life and in the world. So it's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I know it's going to resonate with a lot of people. And that actually reminds me of something that you wrote in your journal. You shared that you wrote down how you wanted to be a blueprint of how to live a full life. What was going on when you wrote that? And at that time, what were you actually trying to become?
Good question. Like you said, as we're talking about the twins now, I I see that the the two brothers give meaning to the experience that they have, and based on the meaning they give to it, it's actually shaped the life that they lived. The kind of father they had, they defined it in certain ways. Oh, I have this kind of father, so I will be this kind of person. And so for me, it was actually 1 or 2 years after I had started following Christ and I started to read. I didn't used to read before. Now I read a lot, but then I didn't used to read back then. I started to read about people who lived extraordinary lives. One of them is Dr. Miles Monroe. I don't know if you know him, but he's a great person. And I found him. The interesting thing to me is that I found him after he was dead. And I didn't know he had already died until I had followed him for a long time. I had already followed him for months. Then I wanted to get closer to him because I was watching his videos, I was reading his books, and then I discovered he was dead. I was like, what? So you mean a person could live so well that even after they are gone, they are still living? Looking at that kind of life, I realized that there is a way that I can live my life, and when I'm gone, people do not only miss me, but my life still had value to other people's life. And so I realized that the only way I can do that is by living a life full of life. So the meaning that I gave to the realization that I had after reading books, after studying even Christ himself, because I see that he has that kind of life because he's been gone for thousands of years now. And someone like me and a lot of other people still follow him. They meet every week, every Sunday. Some do it out of like they're intentional about it, some are not. But the point is, he lived life to the point where even when he was gone, he is still making impact. And that was how I got that idea of wanting to live a life full of life. And then I didn't only want to live that life, I also wanted to be a blueprint because the truth is that not a lot of people will study books. Not a lot of people, even in my environment, not a lot of people actually read books. And that's just the truth. But I realized that people see other people. You cannot not see other people living in your life. Like you can avoid reading, but you can't avoid seeing other people. So I figure that if I live a life full of life, I can become that blueprint to first and foremost to my kids, and then to other people that would see me or that I'll come across um, before I start my family, or even after that. I figure that I can be that blueprint. You can look into my life, and even without me necessarily saying anything, you can clearly see that, okay, if I pattern my life after this person, I can definitely live a life full of life as well. Because I do think that a lot of people actually have a life full of life, but the difference is in living it. A lot of people are not living it, and I want to live it so I can show other people that, look, you have this life. It's a gift that you have, and the reason you have it is not to keep it, but to actually live it. So yeah, that's. I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did. And you even answered the next question I was going to ask. I was going to ask you about the books, the mentors, and just the insights that really served as a turning point in your journey. And you already listed out a bunch of them, but are
Yeah,
there any others that you want to highlight that really served as a catalyst in your journey thus far?
yeah, yeah, definitely. I Miles Monroe definitely is a major person. I read also Tony Robbins. I read his books. I listened to a lot of his audios, and I think one major person who is physically around me is my, I call him my second dad. The same way there's the rich dad, poor dad. Is the one who took me. He took me in after my dad sent me out, and is actually my pastor right now, and is intelligent, someone I look up to. He his life is to me his life is perfect, and not perfect in the sense that he doesn't have issues or that he doesn't face challenges, but i I see in him, I see him living the kind of life that a lot of people are not living, right? So he took me in, taught me so much. I couldn't afford books back then, but he had a library, so I started to read from his library. I remember his wife would um, he doesn't like giving out certain books, especially because he doesn't want them mismanaged. But his wife would actually literally go to his bookshelf and pick those books for me, hand them over to me. And I was really hungry back then. I would take the books, I would read them. And some books I don't even understand what I'm reading, but I'm just reading anyways. It's until much later when my mind began to expand, then I went back to some of the books I didn't understand back then, and I started to read. So it's someone that holds me accountable when I'm about to make a bad decision. It literally drags me away from that, and yeah, is someone that has been a major part of my journey, and I really appreciate it.
That's great. I love how you're open to feedback from others. Sometimes there's people who aren't, but the reality is no matter how successful you get, we have these blind spots and
Yeah,
we're so like in our lives looking at things from sometimes one perspective, and all it takes is some outside feedback. So I really commend you for that, for being so
yeah,
open to constructive criticism. And something else I want to highlight, which I don't think is talked about enough, not just talked about enough, but it's not so often that we actually see someone fully embodying it like you. I don't even know if you fully realize, but you're really, I'm noticing, leading into the power of community. I mean, for you, like you have your mentor, but you're really involved in your church community, which I think is really great. I think just being around others is honestly really undervalued now. And I think just that on its own, I'm not saying everyone needs to join a church community. That's a religious belief that people can decide for themselves, but something in the community, something in person. And if you
yeah,
don't have that in your community, I mean, it's worth it to go out and create a community, kind of
yeah,
like you
yeah,
did. You know, you brought people together, and I know everyone's online, so you could even do meetups.
yeah.
So I just want to give that advice for the audience, for anyone looking to transform themselves, expand in their journey. And that's good advice for even busy entrepreneurs.
Yeah, definitely. Because another thing is that it helps you become more present, which is something very rare these days. If you're in a community that you're really engaged with, one thing with me is that when I'm among my people, I do not, you can't find me with any other device, right? I'm not with my phone. I'm fully connected. We're having a conversation. If we're doing something together, then we are in that moment. I am there, right? And being present it's something that is rare actually with this generation. And I think that being in a community really helps with that, or even initiating one.
Yeah, definitely. Even initiating one. So I love that. And a question for you. This keeps coming up in not just this conversation, but I even see it in some of your posts online. You mentioned how it isn't really AI or video editing or media or tech that you care about. It's the tools and what that can do for a person that you ultimately care about. And so I'm curious, when did that distinction become clear for you, or did you always kind of have that distinction in your mind?
Honestly, no, I didn't always have that distinction in mind. It is in the process of thinking, and um, I would be, I would share the experience that actually helped me fully realize this. This year, I think it was actually your video I was working on, Ari, and you were talking about really focusing on the core while you are doing certain things, and I started to think about it. Yeah, I journal, I write a lot, but I I had not put everything together the way that I did after watching that video. So when I started to reflect on certain things, that was the period, like 1 or 2 weeks before the Youth Incubator. I realized that in the past I had actually done several things. Uh, there was a time where I didn't even have video marketing skills. I didn't have YouTube marketing skills and all of that, but I could write, and I was earning, I was earning some money here and there from writing. And so I had not even started my agency. I was working in a tutorial, and after the tutorial, we were training people who wanted to go to the university. So I would call the people who were interested. Before you go to the university, come, I know how to write. I have a friend who knows how to make soap. I have a friend who knows how to do this. And then I would call everyone together, and then we'll be in this venue, in this space, and then I would train them for free, teach them what I can do. And then after, of course, discussing and pleading with other people who were coming, because I didn't have money to pay them. So they would come also to teach them. And I saw that now I'm not really teaching content writing. I'm not teaching soap making. I'm not teaching the other things that I taught to those students back then. So I'm teaching something else right now. Why? It's made me see that okay, it's actually not exactly the skills or the tools. It is actually the transformation that it is able to help them access that I truly care about. Because in the future, there's something definitely that will not be AI, or that will be better than AI, that will be a better tool for transformation or for change, or something that will get them into the global market, and will just help them access that transformation they are looking for. So that uh, moment when I was watching your video and thinking about it was when I realized.
I love that. Thank you for sharing it. And it really comes to show that sometimes, like, because that's a big insight. It's like a really clear insight. And sometimes when people start a business or they want to do something in their community, they have this perception that, oh, first I need clarity and then I'll take action. But for you, and this is the reality, when you take action, then clarity often comes. The clarity comes from actually trying things, doing things, talking to people. And so that's the pattern I'm noticing for you. You would agree that happened?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing out these patterns to me, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. So now I'm curious because like you really mastered the technicalities, like the AI, the video editing, like you understand that. And so walk us through that decision that you made to fully commit to Youth Incubator when you could have just, focused on, making money and working with clients. Walk us through that decision to pursue that.
Hmm. Well, it was definitely not an easy decision because I was already very busy with the business. I was wearing multiple hats already, and I I thought about it. I knew it was going to be demanding. I knew it was going to be stressful, and not because inherently the assignment itself, not because Youth Incubator itself was like um, was stressful inherently, but because I already had a lot going on, and then adding it to my plate would be more. But then I I asked myself if I would be happy in the next 5 years, 10 years, if I look back and I see that I saw a problem and I did not do anything about it. So I think that was the question that changed the whole thing for me. And when the answer that I got was no, I knew I didn't want to. I'm someone that I like to live a life that I don't want to regret my choices, even though I know that okay, I might not be able to do everything perfectly, but as much memories that I can create, as much things that I can do now, that when I look back in the future I would not regret, then I want to do it. So when I saw that in the future I would regret not doing anything about it, I I decided to just do something about it. And yeah, and I'm grateful that going into it, I got support. Before getting into it, I didn't have any support actually. But going into it, it was like answering the call, and then you're getting the community, you're getting the facilitators, the team, the ideas, and all of that. So the decision making process, what made me go forward with it was thinking about it. Will I be happy in the future knowing that I didn't do anything about this? And when my answer was no, I did something about it, or I started to do something about it.
I like how you did that because you were thinking like a decade ahead, like, oh, in 10 years, will I regret not doing this? And that's a good way to think. And I'm really good at noticing patterns. And so people who are really successful, they don't think in weeks or months, they think in decades, generations, they think of generational wealth. So I see that in you. And I just want to really point it out. But something else I want to point out is, and I believe you got this from running your agency, because I know this because just for the audience, like Ramon helps me with some of my video editing, and I would highly recommend him. By the way, he does an amazing job. Just go look at my YouTube channel. All those edits are, well, the recent edits are all from him. But one thing I just want to point out, you're welcome. One thing I want to point out is to run an agency like that, as we know, it takes time management skills. It takes knowing how to communicate with people. And so you already had those skills going into Youth Incubator. And so
Yeah.
you knew, okay, like, even though you had a lot on your plate, like, I'm sure you trusted in yourself to fully execute that with the skills that you've built. And so I just want to give a piece of advice to our audience because if you're listening to this episode, Creators for Change resonates for you for a reason. It's almost like, I don't know, something in our bones, something in us that makes us want to get up every day and create the change that we wish to see in the world. And there's going to be times when you have a lot on your plate and you have another idea that just lights you up and you're like, oh my gosh, I want to pursue this now. Another way to look at it, coincidentally, you brought out your water. I actually use the metaphor of like, think of like a cup. Like, you want to serve from a full cup so that you can pour that in the service of others. If you try to serve from an empty cup, like let's say, you didn't have those skills, those time management
Yeah.
skills, if you don't have people helping you,
Yeah.
then you wouldn't have done well. So just advice for everyone, you
Yeah,
want to serve from a full cup.
yeah.
Do you have anything you want to add to that concept?
I think yes, there's something because the people that came, the facilitators, they were really people that the audience would not be able to access on a normal day because they were coming from another state and they were coming from, let's say, take for example, you're in San Diego right now. San Diego is like a community, a place where you actually find people who are one way or the other doing well financially. Am I correct with that? Now let's assume there's another state that is not as high income as San Diego. That's the kind of difference. That's the kind of gap. So these people are more or less coming from San Diego, the teachers and all of that. So they have their stuff that they are building, their companies. They are like highly valued. The government of these states calls them when they want work done. So those are the kind of people. And I was the one who reached out to all of them. And how? It is because I had built the agency to the point where other people could see that this person is actually doing something valuable. One of them, I went for a training to upskill my editing skills specifically. And I met him there. He's a YouTube content creator with over 100,000 subscribers. So I met him there. We got into contact. We started talking. He loved what I was building. I didn't have a YouTube channel with a lot of following, but he loved that a Nigerian was building a YouTube agency and was doing well with it. And the other people as well, there were people I met because I had already built the agency to that point. So it goes to show what you're talking about concerning building from a full cup. One of the major people or businesses who gave us laptops is the person I was working with. Before I started my agency, I I served him well. I know that I served him well. As a matter of fact, the whole video marketing thing, I actually started doing it in his company for him. It was his work, the work that I did for him. That was what I started to use as my portfolio. So when it was time for the Youth Incubator and I realized that we were going to need laptops, I started to think, how are we going to get it? Then I realized that, oh, I worked with this person and he actually has a lot of these things. So I could reach out to him because I had a relationship with him and I had worked with him before. So I had built that hook up that I could now take from. So yeah, I just wanted to add to what you said.
I like it. I love it. It's that resourcefulness and that community behind you. So it really plays on that metaphor. Thanks so much for sharing that. I was actually going to ask you what it actually took for business owners to hand over laptops. So, and you answered it, just having those connections and showing people, hey, I'm actually doing something for my community. That's actually why you stood out for me, because I can't tell you how many emails I get from people who want to do work for me, and they usually just go to spam on their own. But yours stood out because I saw that you were doing things. Could you tell us? I think you actually shared with me how you're motivated to help your mom out.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that really stood out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's still in process. I'm usually excited about it. I think about it almost every day. She has no idea what I'm doing, and I really look forward to having the resources to complete it. I've started it, I've not finished it, and you inspired me to do it, Ari, to start a building project for my mom, and yeah, I've started it, and yeah.
So that's actually how we connected. I think I filmed a video about helping a family in Mexico to build a house.
Yeah.
And I remember even that video, I edited it myself because I had other video editors, but they just weren't very reliant, and they didn't have that creative for change spirit, so to speak. And when you had that, and then you had the skills to help me, I was like, yes, this is who I want editing my videos. And it feels good, it's because I know you're going to use that money to support others. So yeah, everyone, good examples that Roland's sitting here. So take some notes if you're not already. But next question I want to ask you is that Youth Incubator ran in May. And so now that it actually happened, I'm curious, what surprised you? Was there anything in the numbers or any particular moments that stood out to you?
Generally speaking, I think what stood out to me was the the hunger, I was I was surprised. Um, one of the days we were supposed to start by 11 a.m. and by 9:15 a.m. we had people. I'm not saying one person. We had people already in the venue, and I was there because I was just there to make sure that everything was in place and all of that. And many times throughout the training, these people would stay from the time they came in the morning till night. They were meant to go in the evening, but they would stay till night because they did not have access to the tools. Like on a normal day, they don't have access to these tools. They don't have access to these people. So they wanted to really maximize that. And the turn up was uh, I know that in marketing, I think they say you should expect about 1 or 10% of the people you reach out to. We got more percentage than, like, I think about 30 to 40% attendance was what we got. And um, even other schools wanted to participate, like they wanted to come as, oh, this school is coming with their students. But I think we did it in a period where they were having some exams, so those schools couldn't actually come. But I saw the interest. I saw the interest, and I was really surprised and encouraged as well by the by that hunger that I saw in them. And yeah, that was really what stood out for me.
That's awesome. When I was initially imagining the event, because you said that people in your community never heard of ChatGPT,
Yeah.
I'm curious, what was their reaction when they saw and when it clicked for them what AI has the power to do? I'm imagining maybe jaws dropping, like mind blown.
Yeah,
What were some
yeah, yeah,
reactions?
yeah. We had those reactions. I mean, it was like that made them more curious about it. And a lot of some of them went on to even do things that I had not even taken time to explore myself, like in the part of the video generation with Google VO3 and all of those tools. Some of them went on to like make um, like the kind of scenes I saw them make with the tool. I was like, oh wow, like it was nice seeing what they put out. I mean, after they learned about it, and because some Nigerians might listen to this, and I'm not necessarily. This is not like, oh, it is everywhere in the world in my country. Okay, that's not the picture I'm painting here. Where my actual community, Songwater, it is it is not as widespread there as it is in other states. All right, so they were really. It made them curious about it. It made them like a child discovering something and then going on to play with it. That was the experience for a number of them.
Mm-hmm. I can only imagine what was going on in their mind. And one thing that really stood out to me as well is I was reading some of your posts leading up to the event, and you were telling people that all you have to pay is attention. And
Yeah.
so people are used to money being the barrier, but I'm curious, what did doing this for free actually unlock for your community that a paid program wouldn't have?
I think I think what it unlocked for them was access to the tools, access to the people. I'm really big on people because I made sure that we didn't only have sessions where they learn the skill set. I made sure that we also had sessions where they learn about the mindset. What mindset did these people have that took them to this point where they are right now? How do they think? How were they thinking before they even started out? So we had mini podcast session for like 30 minutes or an hour. We had some keynotes delivered, but the major thing was we didn't just want to give you the mindset, we also wanted to give you the skill set is the major thing. The skill set was like um, 70 to 80%. And then we also made sure that the mindset was there. So access is the major thing that it unlocked for them. If it were paid, I I don't think they would have gotten that access. I do not think so.
Yeah, for sure. And I know, I know for me, like when I was really in a place of need, it was nice to have somebody there to put me under their wing, like mentors and going to free events. So the people who really take it seriously, it ends up paying off because then they come back to you months, years later and say, oh my gosh, you changed my life.
Yeah.
And again, like, that's why I hired you,
Mm.
to help me with my videos. So it's something that helps you stand out. And I know you're not coming from a place of, oh, look at me, look how good I am, hire me. No, you're actually coming from a genuine place, and it really shows through. So I just really want to point that out, because I've noticed some stigmas in the industry, like, oh, if you don't charge, then you're not valuing yourself. But that's not always the case. Sometimes we have to look at a certain situation and decipher that. So I'm curious now, what's next for you? Do you plan to do another event like this, or are you just going to focus on growing the agency, or both?
Well, I think at this point, I I'll be very frank with you. Going into the first Youth Incubator, I did not think that I would continue it. I just wanted to see. I was eager to solve the problem. I knew that that was not going to be the final solution, but um, when I got into it, at the end of the day, I said, I'm not satisfied with what we have done. I think that we should do 3 months Youth Incubator, because I could tell that in as much as we have uh, put their feet in the water, we've not taught them how to swim well. I know that, because 4 days is, yeah, 4 days, fine, but I like to be sincere with myself. 4 days is not enough to actually incubate in the actual sense. Um, so I appreciate what we have done. I love it, but I want to. After the event, I decided that Youth Incubator will continue until we get people who can continue, people from Youth Incubator who can continue it, who can take on the vision and run with it. So it's not Youth Incubator or the video agency, it is both, because when I become more valuable, when I build the agency, when I grow it and it becomes more valuable, I have access to more people. I have access to more money, more knowledge, more skills that I can put together and uh, use to make Youth Incubator come to life. So for me, it is both.
I love that answer. And I think you're right with such a big topic. I mean, it's AI. I mean, in a free 4-day event, I mean, you probably only seemed like you scratched the surface. There's so much to cover. So I like how you're thinking, like, maybe later you'll do something longer, more in depth,
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
and I like the metaphor, like, oh, you show people the water, but maybe they're not fully swimming. But who knows? I mean, I don't know if you followed up with some of those participants, but you never know. Maybe some of them went on a whole learning sprint. So,
yeah. I'm following up with them as much as I can. We're following up. As a matter of fact, I think the class that took the long period of time, because what we did was show people skills and how AI is how AI is transforming those skills, how they can leverage AI and get into the industry faster than usual. So the last set of students are the cinematography students, and they are the ones who are learning to really come up with scripts, shoot videos for businesses or for any reason, basically. So they are after their training, the person who took them, and this goes to show the commitment behind it. It's not just about me, right? The person who taught them said, I think I want to take them 4 weeks in addition to this one that we've done, and virtually, because physically was going to be very, very expensive. So virtually. So after that, we continued for 4 weeks, and at the end of 4 weeks, he uh, he said he wanted to make sure that they all come together to do a final project. So um, that's what we worked on, even up until today. Today is like the last day of the shoot of their project. They came to use my office space. They came to use my office space to shoot the last day of the Youth Incubator. So yeah, we could tell after everything, myself, my team, that we need to do something better. We need to do 3 months this time and make sure that it is rich and it is better than the one that we just concluded.
I like that. It's good that you're thinking ahead of all this. So, some final questions before we wrap up here. So, for the entrepreneurs and the creators who are listening, who want to attract high value clients from YouTube without doing all the editing themselves, the SEO themselves, the strategy themselves, what's the main shift that changes for them when they work with your agency?
Okay, I think the main thing that changes for them when they work with us is that they get to be in their zone, in their creative zone, and we get to help them create more. And by creating more, they get to attract the kind of clients they want because they don't do all of these things that they don't necessarily like to do or want to do, right? They just basically shoot videos and we undo all of the rest. And what that unlocks for them is it helps them focus on other areas of their business. It helps them deliver better to their clients. And we just make sure that they put out content, right? And they get the kind of clients that they need to grow their business. They get high value clients.
Yeah, 100%. I was even gonna say that I can be an advocate for that because I work with you and I film my videos, I send it to you, and then I could focus on other things that matter for my business. I used to edit my videos, and especially like in the beginning, this is early on in my YouTube days when I didn't have money to invest, I would spend like a whole day trying to edit and they didn't even come out that great because that's just not my zone of genius. But sending it to you, it's like I rarely even ask for revision requests, very, very rarely, because it's already like spot on. So I could just be an advocate and say like that has been such a shift and it's helped me a lot.
We actually always aim. One thing that I have in mind when working with people with the agency is we want to make sure that we our clients are confident in what we are doing, like they can rely on us. All we want to get from you is the link, right? All we want to get from you is the link. Even uh, the clients that we work with on a full management level, all we want to have with you is the strategy meeting where we get to clarify, okay, this is the strategy you're working on. This is your zone. You're creating, you're filming the videos, and you already have your offer that you created that is working. And what we are doing is we're like the engine behind everything. We're like creating the thumbnails, creating the scripts. That's for those who also want us to create their scripts, editing the videos. And one thing that has been consistent with us is little to no revisions, right? Because I'm an advocate for quality work, and I make sure that my team also have that mindset in them. So yeah, that's really it. We like to not give our clients hassles. Is what I'm saying essentially.
Yep. And again, I could be an advocate for that. It's such a weight off my shoulders. So a couple last questions. So what's one principle that you want to leave to the younger generation about leadership, creativity, or making a difference? And yeah, what's just one nugget, one takeaway message that you would want to leave with them?
Yeah, it's simple. Add value. Add value first to yourself. Add value then to the next person beside you. Add value, and that is the secrets that I've discovered, and it has helped me live a full life. I don't think that I've tapped into 20% or even 10% of my potential, but I love the life that I'm living. Genuinely, I love the life that I'm living. I might not have all the money, all the fame, and all of that, but I am happy with myself every day because I strive to add value to myself and I genuinely strive to add value to other people around me. And there's a statement, it says, the greatest among you shall be your servant. What happens is that when you add value, you essentially become a servant. And in the place of service, there's a joy you experience that you might not really be able to explain to other people. Okay. So, but that only starts when you start adding value to yourself, acquire a skill, build a business, just do something that helps you become more valuable and then extend that to other people around you. So that is the nugget that I have for anyone. Add value.
I love it. And the way you described it, it almost reminds me of the cup analogy we
Yeah.
were saying earlier, because you said add value to yourself first and then add value to others. I think the first sometimes others underplay. They don't realize that has to come first, or else you can't continue to add value sustainably. So thanks for putting that in another way. For those who want to follow along to your journey and see how things unfold, maybe follow you because they want to work with you, how can people get in contact with you and find you?
On Instagram, you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Instagram at Rahmon Bethel. That's RahmonBethel. And when you search for that, you're going to find me on Instagram. You're also going to find me on YouTube. If you search for IGM Media or you search for B2B YouTube Help Desk, I'm still trying to fine tune the YouTube channel right now, but we're growing. So if you join us right now, I am confident that you are going to be happy that you started to see the growth process. And also on LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, also Rahmon Bethel, Rahmon, and then Bethel. And those are really the places where I am right now.
I will put those links down below, as well as your website, for anyone who wants to take a look at your work, and anyone who wants to follow you on Instagram to look at the posts from Youth Incubator and any future events. So Rahmon, I just really want to thank you for coming on this episode. You've added immense value to those who are listening, and everyone, if you model some of what Rahmon has done, then you too can embody what it means to be a creator for change, whatever that looks like for you in your journey. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you for the next episode.
Thank you, Ari. Thank you for having me.
Yep, of course. Bye, everyone.